Charles, there's so much going on in the world right now, and some of the most hottest topics that's taking place across the country that has Americans perplexed and worried about the state of the nation. When we look at what's going on in Israel with the war with Hamas and the war, I believe, that's against the Palestinian people, in the name of targeting Hamas, when we look at this shooter, Charles, who's now another random act of mad violence using an assault rifle weapon, and I'm not against guns. In fact, I'm pro-gun for citizens having the right to bear arms. But I do believe that some changes need to be made. Also, Charles, when we look at now the election and the prosecution of Donald Trump, and we look at polling where Mike Pence just dropped out of the race because his numbers couldn't even get over 1% in Iowa. That means the American people, man, are at a crossroads to where we don't know what we really want to do in this nation. Politically, we don't know what we can do to solve the gun problem and violence in this nation. And also, it goes further to say that this country is worried that America may be put into a third world war with the Israeli-Hamas conflict in that war.
Well, clearly, we're on the precipice of World War III. And it should terrify everyone in the world, and including America. There have been some threats and some suggestions that there is an intent from radical Islamists to bring the violence to America. We have seen an unknown number of Syrians and Iranians enter into our completely unsecured southern border in the last few months, and we just don't know what is going to happen, and we should all be concerned. But when you talk about it being a war against Palestine, and then I'll address that issue first and maybe we'll move on, I take significant issue with Netanyahu's bombing campaign of Gaza, right? It is targeting buildings, it is targeting, they tell people to flee, and there's evidence that people are being bombed as they are fleeing. There's also, Hamas is restricting Palestinian movement and allowing them to flee because they want the martyrs as they sit in their 300 miles of tunnel or whatever it is underneath the city. Hamas, we talk about them as a terrorist organization or a splinter group, but they're actually the government of Gaza, right? They're not the government of the West Bank. And they are absolute monsters. As more video evidence emerges from October 7th, and putting children or babies into ovens and burning them alive while they're raping the mothers and then killing. I mean, it's unspeakable.
And if that's true, Charles, if that is true, when you bring something like that up, if Hamas is guilty of putting a human being, a child, in an oven and burning them alive
while raping their mother,
then Hamas, and if they rape the mother, both of those crimes in Islam is guilty by death penalty, regardless if the woman and the child are Muslim or not. And so the Muslim world, if this is true, the Muslim world must condemn and repudiate Hamas and call for justice against them and punishment for that. But we have to be careful, Charles. Israel's attempt to go after Hamas appears to be a war against the Palestinian people. You're not letting food go in. You're not letting water go in. You're not letting fuel go in for the hospitals. They let 21 trucks or 25 trucks go in for a population of 2 million people. That's not even 1% of what they need. Israel, there are millions. There's at least 1 million people in Palestine and Gaza right now that don't have anything to do with Hamas, don't want anything to do with Hamas. And their children and their family members are being bombed and they're dying because of what Hamas did. Israel has to pull back and bring a ceasefire and let humanitarian aid, go into the Palestinian people.
Well, a lot of people are calling not just for the allowance of aid to enter, but that for Israel to provide the aid, which is historically unprecedented because we've never expected one side of a war to help support the other side of the war.
That's what America does.
But now hold on. I know you want to talk about any subject but the subject at hand, and you would like to interrupt, but the truth is that we don't need a ceasefire. We don't need them to pull back. What we need Israel to do is to stop the indiscriminate bombing, and then it's going to be much more difficult to go in there with ground forces and attack just Hamas and not have the thousands of horrifying civilian casualties in a city that is almost majority children. But I don't think the Islamist world or the Muslim world has a responsibility to take a stand one way or the other.
Yes,
but there is a very glaring reality, right? You see a great number. There was a Jewish law school professor that confronted Senator Fetterman in Pennsylvania, calling for a ceasefire. You have Jewish voices in newspapers in Israel that are highly critical of the bombing campaign.
But
you
I
have
told
Jewish
you that.
people. Hold on. You have
Weeks
Jewish
ago,
people.
I told you that.
You have Jewish people around the world. No, I'm just talking the last few days that are critical of the aggressiveness of the bombing campaign, but also horrified by the acts of October 7th. But what you don't have is you don't have very many voices in Syria, Egypt, Lebanon, Jordan, right? The Queen Rania of Jordan was still parsing whether the events of October 7th occurred in an interview with Christina Amanpour. So you have all these people, where are the 40 beheaded people parsing how babies were murdered. But the flip side is you don't respond to inhumanity with more inhumanity. And my issue with Netanyahu's bombing campaign is that it is killing innocent people, and there needs to be another mechanism.
You know why he's doing it, though, right?
He's doing it because he's going to completely eliminate. The goal is to eliminate the existence of the Gaza. Okay.
Netanyahu is carrying out and prosecuting this war in this manner to take the Israeli population's focus off of him and his administration's
I disagree
grotesque
with that.
intelligence failure.
Okay.
How did Netanyahu not have an idea that what took place was about to take place of Hamas coming across that border like that? And then now they question him about it, Charles. And he blamed the intelligence community of Israel, his own government, and he has yet to accept responsibility for the failure of his administration. So to keep the people looking at what's happening in Palestine with the bombing, he don't want them paying attention to how he failed the Israeli people and had such an intelligence lapse.
I think that was an incredible bit of victim blaming on your part. And a lot of people were critical of George W. Bush when 9/11 happened. And we used 9/11 as an excuse to go level Iraq that really had nothing to do with 9/11, right? And kill hundreds of thousands of Iraqi citizens that did nothing to America, right? And I was critical of America then, and I'm critical of Israel now. But we have to remember that in the wake of October 7th, that we have seen nothing but, not just limited to the citizens of Gaza, but we have seen a never-ending stream of both rhetoric, anti-Semitic actions, and terror and war directed at Jewish people in the Middle East since the formation of Israel. And we have seen since prior to the formation of Israel in 1937, the British government had a two-state solution. And I think 6 to 7 times it has been proposed. In fact, in our lifetime, well, the British had control of it then.
That's right.
Right, but
the colonizers.
Okay, I know you like that, but
who invaded that land and colonized it, and all of a sudden now they're going to be the peacemakers.
How far does that math go back? Because the Roman Empire controlled it, I don't know, in 300-400 BC, and then lost it to people of the Muslim faith. You had Carthage fall. You had all this. And throughout human history, land has changed hands in different religions, but in Israel, if you take it back all the way, you keep talking about colonizers, you take it back all the way, it was originally Israel, right?
But them were European folks.
Okay.
Those were the original Hebrew Israelites.
They were the wrong types of
And the
Jews.
Original Hebrew Israelites were not out of Europe.
But again,
they were African descent brothers and sisters in what we call the Middle East, when there's really no such thing as the Middle East. Because if it is, where's the Middle North? Where's the Middle West? Where's the Middle South? All of that land once belonged to the original Hebrew Israelite people, not those who came out of Europe converting to Judaism.
Well, why did Jews flee to Europe?
Oh, not them.
Oh, yes.
Oh, no.
I love your bigotry.
Now let's challenge that lie. Let's challenge that lie. Those who left when Rome controlled it and when the Muslims took it over, they fled into other parts of the East and of the East and in Africa. Very few went up to the Caucasus Mountains of Europe.
How many Jews exist in the Middle East and North Africa outside of Israel?
It's very small group, very small number.
Oh,
very
because
small.
they were less than 20,000, but it should be tens of millions. But they were subjected to the genocide that the United Nations and the Muslim world and a lot of people outside the Muslim world are trying to suggest that Israel is committing. In fact, the population of Gaza had, before the attack of October 7th, had more than doubled. The security measures, the blockade, which I disagree with. I disagree with taking hope and life away from people. But everything has always been in response. In the early 50s, you had these Islamist countries try to wipe Israel off the face of the map, and shockingly, Israel won. Time and time again, you have efforts from the surrounding countries who are brazen about it, right? Iran is brazen about, we want to destroy.
Because
we have these
of
people
the
parsing.
way
No,
that Israel
no,
was
because
set
they're
up.
Jewish.
No, because the way it was set up, Charles,
Okay.
it was wrong.
So it was
But let me
set
tell you,
up by
how
the
about this
country
idea?
that controlled it, who then said, look, we're going to get the UN. So both in
Who stole
37
it
and 48.
themselves? They were thieves themselves.
Okay, I know. Oh my
So,
God.
Charles, why don't we do this?
So
How about
who had it before the British?
How about-
Who had it before the British?
the Muslims did?
No, the Ottoman Empire did.
Those are Muslims.
No.
That's Persia.
No.
Yes.
No.
The Ottoman Empire is Persia that you know now is Turkey.
Okay.
You understand? Those
Okay.
are Muslims. The Ottoman
Some of
Empire.
them are.
The Ottoman Empire are
Some
the
of
Persians.
them are.
But you know now is
you know
Turkey.
what it wasn't?
Those are the Muslims.
You know what it wasn't? It wasn't Palestinians, because there's
They
never
were the Muslims,
there
Charles.
was never
Ottoman Empire
there
was
was
the
there
Muslims.
was never a Palestinian state. So after the 6-Day War, when
Now we go
hold
with
on,
this.
after the 6-Day War, when
A
a
two-state solution is what's
number
needed, Charles.
of Palestinian people fled to Jordan, what did the King Hussein of Jordan do? He executed 25,000 Palestinians in 11 days. More Palestinians than Israel killed in decades. Okay? Egypt closes their border. Lebanon closes their border.
Because they didn't create this war.
Okay?
They didn't create
There's
this war.
always an excuse. That's
And they're
what
also saying
Queen
this,
Rania
Charles,
said.
they're afraid
Queen
that if
Rania
they
said,
let them in, they don't have the resources to take care
I
of
get
them.
why you don't want me to talk.
They don't have the resources to take care of them, Charles.
Yes, they have.
They
These
struggle to take
oil-rich
care of elderly
nations
people,
don't.
Charles.
So Queen Rania, Jordan, incredibly wealthy country, said we don't think they should have to choose between eradication and relocation.
I totally agree with that.
Well, okay. So what the King of Jordan is doing, because you know Queen Rania is not making a decision in that misogynist culture, is that he is deciding that the Palestinians have to choose eradication, right? So the truth is that the surrounding regimes only want to use the Palestinians as faux martyrs, right? So as pawns, right? And these poor Palestinian people, especially the children, are dying. And I couldn't disagree
killing
more.
them?
Well, I agree that the bombing campaign is wrong, but we have to recognize.
There should be a ceasefire, Charles.
No, there shouldn't. Israel has every right to
Charles,
they're
more
shooting
killing-
missiles at Israel
but
every
more
day.
killing is not gonna solve the problem,
They have,
Charles.
What has solved the
More
problem?
killing-
What has solved the problem?
This is what I think will help, Charles.
It is
we
the
need
Islamist
third party
regimes.
nations. We need third independent party nations with no blood on their hands to come together collectively and broker a two-party peace.
Well, they've done it.
Solution.
They've done it over and over again. Over and
America's
over again.
tried it.
No, a number.
And Anwar Sadat, he tried it in Egypt.
The British
he
government,
failed.
the United Nations.
But we need
over
governments to come
and
together to make
over,
this happen.
Over and over, Israel has said, okay, let's do that. And every single time, and
go take more Palestinian land and create more settlements.
They took more land after war, which is what happens with war.
No, Charles.
Hold on.
I sent you a video
Okay.
of an 80-year-old Palestinian woman being evicted from her home because some new Jewish settlers needed a place to stay.
Right, but it is Israel. And I
No,
think it's horrible.
she was in Palestine.
There's not
but
a
they,
state
but,
of Palestine.
But they expanded the border and
Look,
took that part of
I
Palestine
don't
over.
disagree that the resettlement and the expansion, the burgeoning settlements that are further restricting the spaces of the West Bank and Gaza are wrong. I think they're wrong, right? But the truth is, all of that is Israel. And all of it is Israel because some of that used to be Jordan, Lebanon, but after the multiple
After the
wars,
6-Day War.
and also the war in the 50s, where the whole goal was eradication of Israel, right? Every single time. And then every single time after the war, Israel said, okay, let's work this out. Let's figure this out. And the response was the three no's. The response was no compromise. We want to eliminate Jews from
That's
the Middle
not what
East.
they said.
And what we're
That's
hearing
not what
all
they
over the
said.
world as people are marching and taking over the Brooklyn Bridge and the bridge in London and everywhere, and we are seeing video. You want to talk about videos? We're talking videos of Jewish students
Let me
being
ask you a
beaten.
question.
I'm talking Jewish students being beaten in Tulane. You get to Russia and you see gangs of people, thousands of people storming an airport looking for Israelis and Jews to lynch. We are seeing this horrible anti-Semitism all over the damn world, right? Supported
They were
by
not trying to lynch Jews in Russia.
that is
They
absolutely
were
not
protesting
true.
an Israeli plane landing,
Okay.
and they
So
were saying,
why,
take the plane back
why,
to Israel.
If you've not
They were
seen
saying,
the
take it
video
back to Israel,
of the
but they were
man
not trying to
begging
lynch
for his
them.
life, then begging for his passport and saying, no, I'm not a Jew. I grew up here. All right, you're lying.
No, that
And
plane that landed in Russia, the protesters wanted the plane to take back off and go back to
Protest
Israel.
isn't
They weren't trying to lynch
violent.
the damn plane. The people on
Protest
it.
isn't violent, all right? We have seen protests all across America that were really celebrations of October 7th, where Jewish people have been violently assaulted. You did have the one non-Jewish landlord go crazy, kill the 6-year-old tenant and blame his faith. But what that is being platformed everywhere. It's horrible. He needs to spend the rest of his life in prison. I think he should get the juice. But what the mainstream media is ignoring, what you are ignoring, is the 1,400% rise in anti-Semitic attacks in London in the wake of October 7th. And what we've seen is violent attacks of Jewish people all over our country. We're seeing the rhetoric from some of the finest universities in the world that are virulently anti-Semitic. We're seeing Jewish people that have no relationship to what Netanyahu is doing, or more importantly, Jewish people that are antagonistic to the bombing campaign being violently assaulted all over the damn place because we're peeling back the reality of
Charles,
anti-Semitism
well,
and
let's
the
talk about
reality of
something
the
else that's being
disgusting.
ignored.
Okay.
I sent you a video, and one of the Fox producers, of a former Israeli cabinet government member who was a prominent member of the Israeli government, prominent member. And she stated in a meeting with Jewish people that the number one problem in America was black youth to Israel. Let's talk about something like that. Why is that not being covered? That a woman could come to America, she could come to America as a former Israeli prominent government official and tell other Israelis and prominent government officials sitting on a platform with her that the number one problem for Israel is black youth in America.
See, this is what you do, right? You dig through and you'll find videos with no relationship to the talking that somehow tangentially support your bigotry.
We were talking about
I'm
what's
talking,
being hidden, what's not being talked about, what's not being focused on.
Hidden, what is not being talked about in the mainstream media, right, is the brazen anti-Semitism that has taken hold in universities in this country, the nonsense about Israel not having a right to exist, the dishonest lie.
And that's nonsense.
The dishonest
that is
lie
nonsense.
from the river to the sea doesn't mean genocide. It absolutely does. And the real truth is Jewish people are the ones that have been subjected to genocide, not just by the Holocaust, but throughout the Muslim world
More than
for
black people?
centuries. For centuries.
More than black
I
people?
know you want to talk about different subjects, but there
Just ask the
hasn't
question.
been a genocide of black people
More than
in
Indians?
the Middle East.
More than Indians?
There
Yes,
hasn't
it
been.
has. Yes, it has. In Sudan, wait
Once
a minute.
again,
in Sudan, the Muslim government of Sudan, the Janjaweed, killed millions of black African Sudanese who were non-Muslims.
Okay.
Who were non-Muslims,
Do you want to talk about
but they were
how,
black.
How Chairman,
Why is it the world never did anything, including America, to stop the genocide where millions died in the early 2000s and late 90s in Sudan, where a quote-unquote Muslim government was killing and just destroying an entire population of people in Sudan? Where was the world outcry?
There was plenty of outcry. But
No, it wasn't. Brother, stop. America ain't send no
fantastic-
damn warships. America ain't send no warships and planes. America didn't send no fighters, 2,000, 3,000, to land in Sudan like they did here in Israel.
Fantastic whataboutism. But again, your comment was that the black people of Africa, as a whole, were subjected to genocide. And
Yes.
that's not true. Right?
What? By neo-colonial conquest?
Okay. Well, again, how far do you want to go back?
Let's just keep it real.
Okay. The truth is that what we've seen happen to the Jewish people throughout time, right? You can go as far back as you want, is they have been treated as they are outcasts and been subjected to persecution over and over and over again, right?
Which is not right.
And Israel was set up to allow them to return home. And you parse that, oh, they're too white-skinned, they're Ashkenani,
Right,
they don't count.
So let me ask you this.
And at the end of the day,
America helped set up Israel.
Well, it was the United Nations. It was the United Nations.
And the United Nations, okay?
Right. And
because of the genocide of
the
Adolf
Islamic
Hitler,
world
because of Adolf
has
Hitler and the
tried
genocide.
again and again and again to wipe them off the map. Hamas is brazen. We're not going to be happy till they're all dead. Iran is brazen. We're not going to be happy till they're all dead. Hezbollah is brazen. We're not going to be all happy till they're all dead. And the truth is that the overwhelming majority of Israelis have no animosity and just want to live in peace. Right now, are there Jewish supremacists? Yes. But they pale in comparison to the portion, and you say radical Islam, but it's such a giant portion of the Islamic world that doesn't think that Jews have the right to exist. And the saddest thing, I mean, you're parsing, oh, they're white Jews, they're not Middle Eastern. The truth is, they're all the same. The truth is, we're all the same, and it's just who believes what. It's just who believes what.
We're not all the same.
I know you will. You're a bigot.
No, we're not all the same.
The truth is that you want to, whoever believes whatever ancient novel about whatever fantasy in the sky, right, makes them hate each other. But we should all. So, but
Charles,
how are we not all the same?
Because if we were all the same, we would all be treated the same.
Okay.
And we are not all treated the same today, yesterday, or historically in America. Won't be tomorrow and around the world.
So
Let me ask you a question.
People are all the same.
Adolf Hitler was wicked. He was evil, disgusting, and I hate that we didn't get a chance to kill him in public. But I ask you a question. Because of what he did, exterminating 6 million Jews.
I think it was 8.
I thought it was always 6 million. I grew up in school, told me 6 million. We're at 8 now?
Yeah.
When that math come out? All right, so Charles, back to what I was saying. Why is it that America, who helped set up Israel because of their Holocaust in Nazi Germany, recognizing what took place, give them a homeland? Our idea was to give them a homeland because of their persecution and that genocide. According to scholars, white scholars, that in America, in the transatlantic slave trade, at least 100 million lives were lost in the transatlantic slave trade from Africa to America and in slavery. Why is it the United Nations and America and the Western governments didn't do the same for us?
Well, the United Nations didn't exist, right?
Oh, okay.
But
they still ain't did it. But they still haven't done it.
Okay.
They still haven't. Where's our homeland?
Again.
We lost 100 million.
America fought.
We lost 100 million. We get no homeland.
I know.
But
you want to
6 million who died, they get a special homeland, and they get the help of the whole Western world.
Well, let's talk about.
But we get no help.
Let's talk about the.
But we all the same.
What is it? 60 million people killed by Chairman Mao during the.
In Vietnam.
No, in China during
Mao Zedong.
Yeah, during the great shift to communism. Let's talk about Stalin's killing of tens, possibly hundreds of millions of Russians, and it's through violence and starvation. I mean, throughout human history, it's been defined by evil brutality, right? But what is going on with the Jews and Hitler, it wasn't about anything other than their religion. That was the only reason Hitler decided, who had Jewish people in his heritage, that he was going to exterminate every single Jew.
So whatever the reason was, Charles, that was a wicked reason.
But you're right. But
what makes their suffering more significant than anyone else's? And they died by the tens of millions more.
The Holocaust happened in the 1930s and the 1940s, right? What you're talking, we can all find horrible historical grievances, right? But what you don't, this is just whataboutism, right? You know, I have long said that we should be doing far more to allow for prosperity in our African American communities. And I will say this wave of post Minneapolis, post George Floyd, police reform that has abandoned black people, the abandonment, the effort, and you support Governor Abbott in his wanting to shift public school dollars. I think public education is failing America. But at the end of the day, we have to fund and have better schools. We have to have more opportunity. We have to have more safety for black neighborhoods, for white neighborhoods, but especially infrastructure and opportunity for black neighborhoods. You're never going to get me to argue against
the government to do that for us, Charles.
Because who's going to do it? You want the United
We
Nations
have
to come in?
We have to, Charles.
Okay, so then
Black
what were you
people
saying?
have to.
So then what were
Let
you
me
saying?
explain. I said a nation and a homeland being set up.
So
but
you want,
in
you
America,
want a country
if we
set
want better
up, I don't know,
schools-
Liberia
No,
set up and force everyone that has black skin to move? Is that what you want? Because I don't want that.
No, that's not what I want,
Well, it
Charles.
sounds like it's what
That's
you
not
want.
what I want, Charles. I want the same thing that they give Jewish people in America, dual citizenship. So now listen, we get dual citizenship. But here's
So
the
you want to
issue,
go
Charles.
displace a bunch of people in Africa?
That's what y'all do, ain't it?
No, I mean, I'm
But
asking
now back
you if
what I
that's
was saying.
what you want.
No, we ain't got to go to Africa.
So you want to take the home?
Wait, no. We ain't got to go to Africa.
Where
Because
do
the
you want?
Holocaust took place in Europe,
Okay,
not in the Middle East.
So where do you want
So
to go?
we gave them a homeland in a whole other separate part of the world, not where the Holocaust took place.
Hold on. But
So
the
I got a place for
Israelis
us.
were forced out of the Middle East by genocidal
And we were forced
maniacs.
out of Africa.
Okay. Well, that's why they returned them to their native homeland.
No. They gave them an option.
Okay.
Some could go, some could stay.
Okay.
All right. So now, I think Maine, Vermont, I like Texas. How many other
So
states?
you want to have racially segregated America? Well, at least you're being honest about it.
I didn't
At
say
least
that.
you're being open about your racism,
I didn't
Quanell.
say that.
Well, what did you
I
say?
want is America, the United Nations, to carve out some territory right here in America.
Just for black people?
Yeah.
So then do we also carve out a space just for white people?
Well, you already got that.
And then do we say...
You already got that.
Well, where is that?
America.
Okay.
Now look.
And then what
as
do
I
we
was
say?
saying,
Do we say, oh, black and white
Wait a
people, y'all
minute.
can't get married?
Wait a minute.
Oh, black and white people,
when
you
the
can't go to school
American
together.
government realized they were
I
wrong
love that at
against the
least you're
indigenous
being
Indians,
open about
they
your
carved out
racism for the
reservations.
first time.
Why Indians on reservations? They didn't make that.
Oh, no,
the
I think it's
American
horrible.
government created that.
I think the
okay?
way
they created
first off,
that.
it's Native Americans, not Indians.
They created
Indians
that.
are in India.
The indigenous
That's
red
bigoted.
Americans, the indigenous quote-unquote Indian or the indigenous people of America, bottom line is we carved out reservations and gave them land and territory within America because we were so wrong with this American government, how they were treated.
Absolutely not what happened.
Well, who created the reservations?
Okay, the reservations were
By Indians?
The reservations were much more like concentration camps.
You damn right
where
they were.
America took the worst land in the world.
Damn right
and
they did.
Forced Native Americans to go on it, and it's horrible. But what you're talking about, at least you're brazen about it now, which is the first time. You are saying you want to have a racially segregated America.
I didn't say that.
That's exactly what you
That's
said.
not
Now
what I said.
crawfishing. Now
That's
you're
what your
crawfishing.
hypocrisy.
No,
I want to say,
no.
what I said, we deserve a separate territory carved out for us.
Okay.
The same way you did it for Israel and those Jewish people who wanted their homeland because they were forced out. We want a separate territory too. If you do it for everybody else, you can do it for the slave descendants of Americans
So
right
you,
here.
You want to segregate America?
No, we're not going to segregate.
Well, then what do you mean?
No. That territory be given to us.
Okay.
You know, they do have Palestinians who live in Israel.
Okay.
Okay.
No. You're changing
Wait,
the subject. Let's hear your
stop.
nonsense. Let's hear your racist nonsense.
Stop. So now, if we add up how much money we should be paid by the American government and the territory.
Who's we?
Black people.
All
And
black
so-
people.
Yeah.
Even people that aren't descendants of slavery.
Excuse me.
All black people.
Can you let me finish?
Well, I mean, you're
This
not.
is all
You're
money.
changing the
This
subject.
is all money we adding up, not y'all.
So it's
Look.
all black people.
Yes.
And
Look,
any white people that were enslaved, well, they don't count.
enslaved where?
Well, enslaved in other parts of the
Well, that's
world.
their business over there. We talking right
Okay.
here. So now, Charles, I need some time to calculate all that up. So we'll get back on that. I need some
Okay,
time.
yeah, I didn't expect you to answer.
mean,
What
'cause
you're
that-
sitting here
that'll break my little
proposing,
calculator on my
what you're
phone.
proposing is taking slices of America and making them racially segregated, and you don't
That's
even
what America
see
does.
the disgusting hypocrisy.
That's
of it.
what America
Absolutely,
does.
that's not what America does. What
You did it
America
for- you
does,
did it
and
for the
what the
Native
Western
Americans.
world has done for the last
did it for- you
century,
did it for the Jewish
is
people
welcome
and their Holocaust.
everybody, right? And welcome
America
cultures
didn't them up.
and religions.
We were not welcome.
Black people aren't welcome in America.
We were not welcome to America.
No, let's talk about now.
We were brought here in chains.
No, I get that. You weren't alive.
My ancestors were brought here in
Okay.
chains.
Well, and what if my ancestors were brought as indentured servants, which isn't as
Okay,
bad as
we were
slavery.
that too. We were the free servants.
Okay, so
Y'all
at
got
the
some
end
type
of
of
the
paycheck,
day,
we got none.
But at the end of the day, is you are advocating for a racially segregated
That's
America.
not what I want.
Because you're a racist.
No, I want total integration.
Okay, well then why do we need to divide up America to do that?
I want total integration, but
Okay.
I think that we got to pay that big check that's owed to us first.
Of course, stick your hand out, Quanell. Stick your
our
hand
hand
out.
out.
And instead of
Stick our hand out.
that's
We
all you
worked
do.
for 400 years for free.
You worked. When's
Our
the last
people
time
worked
you
for
did an
400
honest
years.
day's work,
See, there you
Quanell?
go. There you
The
look at my hands. I got
truth
bunions on my hands. I
is,
work hard, too.
is What we
Charles.
need is an America that does more for poor African Americans and poor white people and poor Latin Americans and provides more hope and opportunity. What Obama talked
Yeah,
about.
I got that.
What you want,
I got
Quanell,
that.
is a check for
I
Quanell.
got that. No, baby,
I want a
no
check
individual
for
checks.
Quanell
No
for
individual
not
checks.
doing any damn
no
work.
individual checks.
Okay.
But put up institutions
yeah.
and use the brilliant scholarship
let's
of our
make
people
Vermont
to determine
and Texas
where those
black-only
funds should go.
territories.
No, well, we'll talk about that
You're
later.
just a segregationist and a racist, Quanell.
Bless your poor heart, but we want that check, Charles.
I thought you didn't want a check.
Not individual check,
Oh, you just want checks.
for all of our people.
Okay.
Collective check.
Okay, you know what? I would love to have a universal basic income or eliminate
there
the
you
federal
go. Never mind,
bureaucracy
man. I'm
and
done.
find solutions
Never
for all
mind,
poor
Charles.
Americans.
I'm done.
But you don't like white
I
people.
thought we was making progress.
You don't like white people.
See, there you go. See that? See that?
You
Oh,
don't
ain't no
like
white
me.
male.
You don't like me.
That's amnesia. I don't like you.
Yeah, you don't
Charles.
like white people.
So you know I love you.
Oh, well, it's nice to know.